Hello, my name is NJ Franco, and these are my thoughts on the Heroes of Olympus, The House of Hades by Rick Riordan. So, first off, this book review is going to contain spoilers for the previous book, The Mark of Athena. So, if you don't want to have the ending of The Mark of Athena to be spoiled for you, go ahead and skip this video and come back to it once you have read The Mark of Athena, okay? But for everyone else, if you have read The Mark of Athena, then you know that it ends with Percy and Annabeth basically falling into Tartarus, okay? And honestly, that is my favorite part about this book, and that is honestly why this will probably be my favorite book in the Heroes of Olympus series, okay? As much as I feel bad for Percy and Annabeth having to suffer through Tartarus, I'm kind of enjoying reading the descriptions of Tartarus that Rick Riordan gives. For instance, he describes it as the air being hot and dry to such an extent that blisters actually start to form on Percy and Annabeth's skin, and the ground is basically made out of shards of glass. Furthermore, there are blood red clouds in the sky because apparently Tartarus has its own atmosphere. And when I read about these blood red clouds, it made me think, okay, is Rick Riordan describing them as being blood red as in they are the same shade of red as blood? Or are they literally clouds of blood? Okay, and if they are clouds of blood, does that mean that it can actually start to rain blood in Tartarus? Now, I finished the book, and at no point does it rain blood on Percy and Annabeth. Fortunately, unfortunately, however you look at it. But that doesn't mean it's not possible. Okay, so I want to know. I'll probably never find out, but I kind of want to know. Are these actual clouds of blood? And can it actually rain blood in Tartarus? And knowing Tartarus, that doesn't seem completely outside the realm of possibility. So I want to know, is that possible? It might be. My only complaint, though, is that I wish the book contained a map. Okay, with all this description of Tartarus, I kind of wish it at least had a map of what Tartarus looked like. And it's my understanding it's basically like a corkscrew down. And at the bottom of it is the doors of death, and but yeah, so it's basically a spiral pattern down. Either way, I would still wouldn't mind a map of Tartarus. I mean, I'm a map guy. I like maps. But anyway, moving on from Tartarus, even though that was my favorite part. Two other points I want to make is Nico confesses his feelings to not for Cupid, but so Nico and Jason come across Cupid, the god of love, basically. And Nico is forced to confess his feelings for a certain member in the group. I'm not going to say who that is, just in case you haven't finished the House of Hades yet. I will say it wasn't so much of a spoiler for me, because I kind of saw it coming, because the fact that the sun and the star exists kind of told me how Nico is. So the fact that he has a particular interest in this particular member of their party didn't surprise me that much. But if you haven't read The House of Hades yet, I'm not going to say who it is that he has a crush on. But he had to admit his crush to Cupid. Anyway, the only other thing is Leo, my favorite demigod right now, my man Leo, freaking love that guy. He has an exclusive adventure on Calypso's island. Calypso is that goddess who's basically cursed to live on this island forever, and every now and again she gets a overly attractive guy to visit her island, and she falls in love with him, and just as she falls in love with them, they have to leave for one reason or another, and that's her curse. She meets guys, she falls in love with them, and then they have to leave. Percy was the last person to visit her island. She fell in love with him, and then he had to go save Annabeth, and she's like, I'm cursed, again. Anyway, that's Calypso. So you would think, with my man Leo, the same thing would happen. He would come to Calypso's island, Calypso would fall in love with him, and then he would have to leave. But no, she is actually repulsed by him, and I'm like, really? My man Leo? This guy's freaking awesome. What's not to like about him? But no, she was repulsed by him. And again, he eventually, of course, leaves the island as well. They always do. But the whole point I'm trying to get at, though, is apparently Leo, my man Leo, must have a thing for girls with quote-unquote cinnamon toast hair, which I'm guessing is like a tannish brown or some of that, because Hazel, he has a thing for Hazel until he finds out that that's Frank's girl and he backs off. But he initially has a thing for Hazel, who's described as having cinnamon toast hair. And then Calypso is also described as having cinnamon toast hair. And I'm like, maybe he's just got this thing for cinnamon toast haired girls. I don't know. But I just happened to notice that, correlation there. So, but anyway, that's really it. I know this is a super short review, even though this is arguably my favorite book in the Heroes of Olympus series. It's still a very short review. But anyway, that's it for me. And as always, thank you for watching.